Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the Charles Schwab Challenge. Before we dive into this week's episode, a reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF. In Iowa, terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Okay, Tony, we're on the first tee here for our Charles Schwab best bets. Get us started.
Yeah, this is gonna be so gross. It's so greasy, but I am gonna take it. I'm gonna go Scottie at plus 280 to win. I know how gross that is, taking such a short number in any tour event, but I just feel like even at that number, he's just far and away the best player in this field. The gap between Scheffler and the rest of the world is a pretty significant one at the moment. And when his only main competition in this tournament is Homa and Morikawa, that gap's even wider. So those are the only two guys in this field that have really competed well against, at least put a fight against Scheffler over the past few months. But I mean, this is still a guy who's won 4 of his past 6 tournaments, and the other 2 non-wins are both top 10 finishes. One was a runner-up. That includes his 8th place finish last week. And I mean, that finish was weighed down by that Saturday. It was the worst round of his season, 2 over par, and he was without his caddy. He rebounded with a 65 on Sunday, so I'm not worried about that round moving forward. And if that round didn't happen, like, he's in contention on Sunday, most likely. So I'm not worried about the hiccup entering this week. He's going to his home state of Texas. He's not dealing with arrest warrants right now. He can go back to focusing on golf. And so as gross as it is, I am going to take Scottie at plus 280 this week.
Wow. I'm speechless, man. I mean, listen, I don't know how much I can argue with the concept that he'll be there, but I'm going to be a little bit more bold and take my chances farther down the board at some bigger numbers. I'm going to go with Brian Harman, 45-1 enhanced win. I love this golf course for Brian Harman. He's played great here in 11 appearances at Colonial. He's already got 8 top 30 finishes. He's coming off a phenomenal approach week as well at the PGA Championship, where he gained almost 6 strokes on approach. And that's what Harman typically tends to do. He's one of the best wedge players in this field. He typically raises his baseline significantly on shorter golf courses with small greens. His best finish of the year came at the Players Championship, where he also led the field in approach play. And Colonial's played pretty firm and fast the last couple of years. And I'm not necessarily comparing it to Royal Liverpool, where he won the Open Championship, but think about these firmer golf courses where accuracy off the tee is important and it's all about spin control into firm greens. Like, those are the situations that I like Brian Harman in, and it's not a surprise that he's played so well at Colonial in the past. So 45-1, Brian Harman will be my first bet of the week.
All right, we already got one similarity down. I'm also on Brian Harman, but first round leader at 50-1. As you mentioned, he hasn't returned to the winner's circle since his Open Championship victory last year, but it's not like he hasn't been playing good golf. He's made the weekend in 16 of his 18 tournaments since then. He boasts 6 top 12 finishes over that stretch, so we know the tools are there to compete. We know that the best club in his bag is obviously the putter, and the putter is how Emiliano Grillo won this tournament last year. So I think absolutely putting could be a way to succeed, which I know kind of goes against my Scottie pick, but Scottie has turned his putting around recently. But at the end of the day, I think Harman absolutely, he can win this tournament for sure, but I think he can also definitely lead after Thursday. So in the first round leader market, I'm going after Harman at 50-1.
Love that. Glad to see us aligned on that one. I think he has a great week. I'm going to stick in the outright market and go with 55-1 on Christiaan Bezuidenhout. I love the way that he's been playing as well. I'm not getting overly concerned about a missed cut at the PGA Championship. I did not think that was a great golf course for him. I think Colonial will be far more up Bezuidenhout's alley. Similar to Harman, he significantly raises his baseline on the shorter courses with smaller greens. He's played great at the Valspar. I think that's a wonderful comp for this week. And I just love and trust the way that he's hitting his short irons this week. And the combination of bent grass putting and short iron play at Colonial has proven dividends time and again. And those are two categories that Bezuidenhout just absolutely excels at. So I will roll with Bezuidenhout 55-1 enhanced win on Bet365.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the outright winner market as well, and around the same odds. I'm gonna go after Justin Rose, who is 60-1. I'm worried recency bias is trickling in a little bit here, but he looked very good last week at the PGA Championship, finishing sixth. He had a consistently good week from beginning to end, and you have to look at the names that surrounded him on that leaderboard. There was Scottie, Bryson, Hovland, Morikawa, Lowry, JT, and Rory. The only two guys out of those big names that are all around him on the leaderboard that are going to be here this week is Scottie and Morikawa. So that makes me love Rose's number at 60-1. So the question really is, can he carry that momentum into Texas this week? I think considering he won here in 2018, absolutely. He followed up that victory at Colonial with 4 made cuts over his next 5 appearances here, with 3 top 20 finishes over that stretch. So he likes this course. He looked awesome last week, and I think 60-1 is just a little bit too long on a guy who's competing against much tougher competition last week than he'll face this week, Scottie and Morikawa withstanding.
Love that play. I'm going to stick in the same tier of the odds board and go with Aaron Rai, 65-1 enhanced win. I love Aaron Rai's fit at this golf course. He had a nice finish at the PGA Championship, making the cut there and getting over 2 strokes on approach. Now he travels to a golf course that is going to heavily accentuate his accuracy off the tee, his short to middle iron play. Aaron Rai is one of the best short to middle iron players in this field, and I think he can gain a significant advantage on this course as well by his ability to hit the fairways. Last year at Colonial, he finished 12th, gaining over 7 strokes on approach. I think he can do a little bit better than that this year. He's played well on firm golf courses in the past. He's won before on links firm golf courses across the pond and played great at Colonial, great on shorter courses, great on positional golf courses where it's all about finding the fairway and controlling spin with your short iron. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rai, 65-1 enhanced win on Bet365.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm going to stick right in the outright market one more time and right around the same number. I'm going to go after Maverick McNealy at 66-1. So I talked about Rose's performance last week. This is another guy who kind of caught my eye. McNealy finished 23rd after firing a 69 or lower in 3 of the 4 rounds at the PGA Championship. McNealy continues to play a pretty tremendous brand of golf. He's made the weekend 10 of his past 11 tournaments with 3 top 13 finishes over that stretch. He's gained true total strokes in all 10 of those weekend appearances. So he's playing good golf. We know the deal with McNealy kind of at this point of his career, right? Like, he's excellent with the driver, excellent with the putter. The questions start to arise when we look at kind of everything in between. However, there are 2 trends that make me unconcerned about that part of his game this week. One, McNealy has gained true strokes on the approach in 2 of his past 3 tournaments, of which ShotLink data was available. And 2, he is 4 for 5 on made cuts at Colonial, gaining true strokes on the approach in all 5 of those appearances here. So his iron game does pick up here, and that's always the thing that holds him back. So if he can continue to have a solid iron game here, and we know the putter and driver is most likely going to be there, I think it's not out of the question they could pull something out of the hat at 66-1.
I like that play a lot. I'm going to go with Tony Finau plus 320 in the top 10 market. I don't know if I can totally trust Finau to win a golf tournament right now based on the way that he's putting. But this is a guy who led the entire field last week at the PGA Championship in approach play. And there continues to be, year after year, a strong correlation between guys who are hitting their irons very well coming in and those who have had success and won Colonial. And there may not be a better player in this field outside of Scottie Scheffler that is hitting their irons better right now than Tony Finau. I think how elite his approach play is right now, I think should raise his floor on this golf course significantly. And if we can get anything close to a neutral putting week from Finau, which he did show some flashes. I mean, he had a great putting round at the PGA on Thursday and still finished 18th in that tournament. Now he's playing in a much worse field. To get over 3-1 on him to finish in the top 10 is a bet I will make 10 out of 10 times. So I'm going to go with Tony Finau plus 320 top 10.
I'm going to keep us in that same market and go after a guy we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and that's Lucas Glover. So he's returning plus 550 at Bet365. We talk about him all the time. I'm just such a big fan of Glover's game. The only thing he doesn't really handle well is distance. But as we've mentioned earlier, that's not a problem at a course like Colonial, which is why we saw him finish in 8th place in 2021 here. I could see another top 10 finish from him this season at Colonial due to how well he has resurrected his game over the past year. Dating back to last season, Glover has made the weekend 21 of his past 24 tournaments, boasting 2 wins and 3 other top 10 finishes over that stretch. Glover has now gained true total strokes in 7 consecutive tournaments, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see another top 10 finish from him at a pretty nice payout of 11-2. So that's where I'm going to go with Lucas Glover in the top 10 market.
Love that. I will stick in the top 10 market as well and go with Chris Kirk plus 550 top 10. I thought this was a phenomenal number on a former Colonial champion that has played some great golf this year. Chris Kirk, I've talked about wedge play a bunch on this podcast already. Chris Kirk is one of the best wedge players in this field. I am not concerned whatsoever about the miscut at the PGA Championship. This golf course is far more up Chris Kirk's alley. He always seems to play his best golf, whether it be at the Sony Open, whether it be at Colonial. He's had some very good finishes at the RSM Classic as well. All of these short positional golf courses with smaller greens is where you want to play Chris Kirk. So I will take him at plus 550 to finish top 10.
I'm going to keep us in the top 10 market one more time, and I'm going to go after Webb Simpson at 11-1. So a bit of a dart throw here. But this is a course where he's finished in the top 5 twice over his past 5 appearances. Those came quite a few years ago. Obviously, this is not the Webb Simpson of old, but it's still a good track record here. And he's also finished inside the top 10 twice over the past year on tour. So at this age of his career, it's not like it's impossible for him to do. Long shot, yes, but that's why we're getting 11-1 here. Furthermore, he's gained true total strokes in 7 consecutive tournaments, making the weekend 6 of those 7 outings. So he is playing not great golf, but good enough golf to where at least like if we see him competing on Saturday and Sunday, who knows, just get hot at the right time. He could squeak into the top 10. I just think 11-1 is just a little bit of a misprice on a guy who has played well at this course previously.
I'm going to dive us into the top 20 because I'm a little bit less enthused on this player. I just have some concerns about his flat stick and the upside that he can provide with his flat stick. Although granted, he did win a PGA Tour event very recently, but I'm going to go with Akshay Bhatia plus 240, top 20. I just love his approach play on this golf course. I've talked about approach play many times in the past about how that remains the biggest determining factor of what you want to focus on heading into Colonial on this firm golf course with smaller greens. And even in the miscut at the PGA Championship, Akshay gained 4.5 strokes on approach. He just couldn't do anything else well. But this is a golf course that heavily accentuates approach. He's played great in Texas this year. He played well at the Houston Open, and he won the Valero Texas Open. So I love to get plus 240 on Akshay Bhatia top 20. Let's keep those irons rolling this week with Akshay.
I like that a lot. That's a good number. I'm going to go after the top 20 market as well. I'm going to go after Matt Kuchar at 5-1. So I know it sounds kind of crazy taking him in the year 2024, kind of back-to-back plays with some of the older guys on tour, but he's been able to compete when going against weaker fields. He finished runner-up at the Worldwide Technology Championship, 7th at the Fortinet Championship, and 20th at the RBC Canadian Open, all over the past 14 months or however long that was. Kuchar is also a great track record at Colonial, finishing inside the top 20 in 5 of his past 12 appearances here. And he just finished 34th in his last tournament on tour this year, which was at the Wells Fargo Championship. And that field was, obviously Scottie was missing that week, but that field was way more loaded from top to bottom than what he's going to go against this week. I feel like if he can go 34th there, he can absolutely squeak into top 20 here, especially at a course where he's had good history. So at 5-1, I think that's definitely worth a dart throw for Kuchar to finish in the top 20 against this relatively watered down field.
Nice. I'm going to stick us, last top 20 play for me. And then I've got one top 40 and a first round later, but I'm going to go with Daniel Berger plus 275, top 20, starting to play some better golf. Played well in Myrtle Beach. He's won at Colonial in the past. I don't know if he's quite ready to win a golf tournament just yet. But I love the way that he's starting to play. One of the things that he has kept with him over the course of this year is his driving accuracy is still rock solid. He's had some great iron performances. The irons have started to come back. He really just hasn't putted all that well over this year. The feel around the greens and with the putter hasn't totally come back, but I'm hoping that can be rectified at a golf course that he is incredibly comfortable at, that he has a lot of great history at. So I'm going to go with Daniel Berger plus 275, top 20.
I am going to go to the first round leader market once again, and I'm going to go after Max Homa, who's 35 to 1. As always, I am waiting to actually lock in these plays until tee times are announced, so keep an eye out for my first round leader article here this week at the Action Network. But with that said, as long as these guys aren't like on the last groups out on Thursday, then this is the direction I'm heading. Homa's the third best golfer in this field, and this market gives us an opportunity to move his outright number from 22 to 1 to 35 to 1. And I like him in this market far more anyways, because if it is him and Scottie battling out on Sunday, I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Homa in a 1v1 matchup there. But with that said, he absolutely possesses the skill set to not only win this tournament, but at least to lead after the first round. Homa has made the weekend in 19 of his past 20 tournaments, boasts 12 top 15 finishes over that stretch. He's failed to win on tour over that span, which is another reason why I kind of prefer him in the first round leader market this week. We've seen improved play from him kind of year over year at Colonial. I believe it was 3 years ago he finished 27th, and he had the 23rd place finish in 2022, and then 9th last year. Therefore, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see his name toward the top of the leaderboard on Thursday.
I'm going to stick us in the first round later market and go with my guy, Davis Thompson, 66 to 1 first round leader. This guy finished second at Myrtle Beach. He was one of the top ball strikers in the entire field. And if you filter through round one scoring average over the last year, Davis Thompson ranks top 5 in this entire field. He loves to get it going in the first round. I think Colonial is a great golf course for him. I mean, you look at the type of skill set that I'm looking for this week. I've talked ad nauseum about recent approach play, and Davis Thompson remains one of the sneaky better iron players in this entire field. So I'm going to go with Davis Thompson, 66 to 1 first round later.
And my final first round leader play is going to be kind of around the same price as well. I'm going to go after Tom Hoge at 55 to 1. Most people would agree that the most important isolated strokes gain metric is approach, and there's only one guy who beats Hoge this season in strokes gain on the approach, and that is Scottie Scheffler. Just trailing Hoge is Corey Connors, Finau, and Schauffele. So that's kind of a hell of a group of guys to be associated along with in such a key metric. We haven't seen Hoge win on tour since 2022. Which is part of the reason why I like him so much in this market, because I trust him far more on a Thursday than I do on a Sunday. But I mean, he's in great form with 13 weekend appearances over his past 14 tournaments, posting 7 top 20 finishes over that stretch. The upside is there. I don't know if his finishing ability is there. Well, actually, his finishing ability definitely has not been there, but the upside is there. So that's why I'll take my shot on Hoge this week in the first round leader market at 55 to 1.
Love that. I'm going to finish this off with a top 40 selection at plus odds. I love to track down these guys at plus odds in the top 40 market that I'm very confident can make the cut. I'm going to go with Greyson Sigg, plus 145, top 40, available on Bet365. Greyson Sigg is another player that is in great approach form. You look at how he hit his irons at Myrtle Beach. He was one of the leaders in approach at Myrtle Beach. He gained over 7 strokes on approach at Myrtle Beach. He is one of the better wedge players in this field. He's had a lot of success as well on the shorter positional golf courses with small greens. If you filter out shorter golf courses, small greens, Greyson Sigg raises his approach baseline. I think he's a much better short iron player than he is a long iron player. And so you actually start looking at his stats on golf courses like Colonial on approach. One of the better, more underrated iron players in this field. I think there's tremendous value on Greyson Sigg this week. Plus 145, top 40. That will do it for our best bets episode for the Charles Schwab Challenge. Before we get out of here, a final reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 or older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. As a reminder, our action experts, Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish, return with hosts Roberto Arguello tomorrow for the Charles Schwab Challenge betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we'll see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast presented by Bet365.